Welcome to I Like Beer, the podcast, and Odd Pairing podcast. It's a mashup collab show.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Cheers.
Cheers. Let's start off with a cheers.
This is exciting.
It is
It
exciting.
is.
Two great shows together. Chocolate and peanut butter. Reese's.
That's right.
Yeah. But it is going to require some introductions,
Yes,
right?
of course.
So let's
Absolutely.
meet Odd Pairing.
Yeah, so we are Odd Pairing. I am Natasha, and this is my co-host, Paige. And we are, we're a podcast that talks about just adult beverages, period. Whether it's beer, wine, spirits, doesn't matter what it is. We're going to handle it and we're going to talk about it. So in that, we also kind of do deep dive sometimes and like, where does beer and wine and spirits, where do they actually come from? And then we also talk to local people who have created their own beer, wines, and spirits. And then from there, we take that and then we just kind of push it out to our audience and hope that they learn something from it.
Very cool.
Yeah, community, culture, just that exploration of how the alcohol industry fits into our everyday lives and the impact that manufacturers have on their communities and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun.
I've been listening. At the top of your show, you explain how you two are an odd pairing.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
For our listeners that may not know.
Yeah. So for everyone out there that doesn't know from I Like Beer podcast, Paige and I are an odd pair for one, because we're both white and black. So that makes it, that piece of it. And then also she's in the beer world and I'm in the wine world. She's in the beer world more professionally, but I'm in the wine world just for fun. But I know enough
As a hobby.
I know enough to
We're
do
just
it.
so serious.
Yeah, to do it professionally. So that's why we wanted to kind of just bring our two worlds together and then venture out into like the spirits, because that's new for the both of us. So both of us going out into that spirit world, kind of bringing that together. And then just how do people be able to sit at the same table and drink different things and still communicate without anyone saying, oh, you're drinking a wine? Oh my God. Like I would rather drink a beer instead
Watch
of doing that.
You know what? I just do that for fun. I don't really mean any of it.
Right.
I'll drink with anyone.
And introduce ourselves to your listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff,
And I'm Jeff.
and we are not odd couple. We are peas in a
We
pod.
were called Bert and Ernie.
Bert and Ernie.
In fact, one listener thought we lived together. That shows how...
We grew
Rubber
up in the same
ducky.
town. We had shared our childhoods. We went to the same middle school, same high school, married our high school sweethearts. We returned there to be teachers. Our kids went there,
Yeah.
and we vacationed together.
That's true.
Wow, you guys really like each other.
Alcohol helps too. So,
Maybe we should find out what
That's
people are. We're
awesome.
going to do a lot of toasting, I can tell.
Yes.
What are we drinking?
So for me, I brung in an unruly rosé because rosé is like, I love rosés. And depending on who it is. But this one is made in California. I just kind of picked this one up quickly. And yeah, that's the one that I brung in today for myself to drink.
And I brought in June Shine, which is a local hard kombucha manufacturer here in San Diego. So they do a collaboration every quarter-ish with an influencer or somebody who's invested in the company. And so this one that they released is with Cody Ko, and he is a YouTuber, 6 million-ish plus
Something,
subscribers, something, where I have aspirations to compete with. And so it's called Hippie Juice, and it's very similar to like strawberry lemonade, good summer drinking. There's really cool branding, and we recently talked to June Shine, and just the story behind their collaborations is really cool. How involved the collaborator actually is to create and develop the recipe. So I really enjoyed this one. So I was like, I'm gonna drink it again.
Well, to make our case in point without talking to each other, I brought right here from Vista, Mother Earth's Cali Creamin'. It's a old school favorite of mine. And
well, I actually reached for the Cali Creamin', but I go, I'll be a little different, and I bought the Mother Earth Dreamsicle. So it's Cali Creamin' where they put the orange in it. So a little different today, but it is really funny because the only directive I got was bring a local beer. So
That would have been amazing if you guys would have bought actually the exact same can and the exact same beer.
thought of staging it that way as a joke, and I thought, I don't have to. It's going to be so
It's
close.
going to happen anyways.
So that's pretty funny.
So we decided we would have some of our favorite segments from each other's shows.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what are you bringing from your show?
So we do a drinking word game. So essentially, everybody drinks when this word is said throughout the entire show. Today's word is cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Do you feel
Cool.
the pressure already?
Take a sip.
I'm glad I brought a second beer.
The word of the day. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then everyone drinks. So
Yeah.
usually when people play a word game, they usually just one person drinks, like the
Right,
person.
right,
So
right.
they end up being the one who's the drunkest. But we decided that we wanted everybody to enjoy the fun.
Yeah, we're very
Inclusive.
Yes.
inclusive, but also like community driven.
Yes.
So it's a community
Yes.
effort. It's
Exactly.
that's what we're doing here.
Be like Fonzie. I got it. Have you had a word that was too good of a word?
Not really, because we still want to keep our wits about us during the episode, right? So we try to do something that's like, like red or something, such a common word that by the end of it, we're all like leaning on the end of the table.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah,
Have you picked too good of a word?
Right. We try not to do that. We try to still do something that's still engaging and in a word that's used pretty often. So then people will have that moment of where they're like, oh, okay, they used it. Everybody was drinking pretty much during it. And it keeps everyone engaged in the conversation. Because not only are you listening to what someone is saying, but you're also waiting on that word.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
To come around.
Or if you get really thirsty, so everyone might as well drink at this
Right.
point. So let's just all-
Just like arbitrarily say the word.
I did want some clarity. Am I allowed to drink without the word being
Yes.
said?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Well, then I'm
There's
in.
no rules about not drinking. It's just like additional drinking.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, we also have a segment from our show we're going to bring in. Since we all have a drink in hand, we're ready for one of our favorite segments. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Toast, Roast, and Pour One Out. All right, so in this segment, we find things going on there in the world that we should toast, needs to be celebrated, things that need to be roasted, they just need to be called out, and sometimes it's the end of something, so we got to pour one out. Well, I think we should start with toasting our friends Paige and Natasha for joining us and letting us join them.
We'll do another cheers. I love it.
And on that collab theme, Beer Culture, Brave Noise, and Women of Bevolution have pooled their resources to create a $15,000 grant to support underserved groups launching businesses in the craft beverage field. That was hard to say. And we haven't even said that word yet too many times. Anyways, good people doing good things. If that fits you, look it up. Beer Culture, Brave Noise, and Women of Bevolution with a big grant.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, it is
toast to
awesome.
them.
Toast to them for
Yes.
sure.
Who else brought a toast today?
I did.
Go ahead.
So I'm with the San Diego Brewers Guild, and San Diego Beer Week is coming up in November. Every year we do a collaboration beer called Capital of Craft IPA, and last week we had our recipe day.
Awesome.
So it was really awesome to get everybody together. We're going to have Brew Day in September, which we'll be able to invite all of our members to, which we haven't been able to do since 2019. So it's, and then we'll release it for Beer Week. So definitely excited about just getting all of those activities and initiatives back up.
I see you're
And
sticking to the
running.
collaboration theme
Yes.
too.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you give us any teasers about who's involved in this year's, or do we have to wait? Because we feel special, so we feel
Well,
like
you are special. But I didn't write it down.
But not that special. That's okay.
No.
well, that's an impressive listing. We'll put it in post. So it's still sound like a
You
robot.
can go to our website. No, Pizza Port is our host brewery. We're doing 90 barrels, so it's a pretty large batch. BSG Craft Brewing is donating all of our hops and grain. White Labs is donating all of our yeast. And CanWorks, which is a new digital can printer from Austin, Texas, is opening a new facility here in Vista, and they're donating all of the cans. So half the batch will be packaged and sold in cans for off-prem, and the other half will be kegged and on draft at your favorite local establishments.
Oh,
Fantastic.
Exciting.
yeah.
Is that insider?
That's
Yes,
it is insider. Gives us something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Who else has a toast?
Yeah, you got one?
I don't have.
Oh, you know what? It's okay. I got a couple. So I tend to go. Well, first of all, on the beer side of it, I'm just going to toast one of our favorite breweries, Epic. They just opened up in La Jolla, so craft breweries back on Prospect in La Jolla, which is kind of cool. Looking forward to visit that facility, and then on more of the cultural current event side of it, we got to toast Ireland and their sporting venues. They get it so much more than us. I don't know if you guys were paying attention this last week, but football season started, and there was a game played there, Nebraska versus Northwestern. And as the game is going on, their servers go down in the stadium. So you can imagine, probably in the United States, what happens? We shut everything down, right? Nothing. What do? They go, nope, we're going to give away free beer to all fans while this is happening. So there's 2 hours of the game where the servers were shut down, and they gave away free Guinness to all fans that came up there. And I feel like that's the way to handle it, right? They said they wanted to make sure everybody had a great stadium experience. So
that is very Irish of them.
Yes, it was very Irish of them. So, and then one of the other ones, one of obviously the greatest actors of our time, and just generally, if you follow anything about him, awesome dude, Keanu Reeves. Point Break, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, that kind of thing. So he's staying at Matrix. There you go.
Come on.
Yes.
How you missed the obvious one?
Well, because Point Break. Let's go. Johnny Utah is really one of the greatest characters ever. I mean, you're on board with that one. But anyways, he's staying in England at a hotel in England. He runs into this couple we're getting married. He runs into the husband in the bar. The bar says, "Hey, I just got married. Come on over, say hello, and have a drink with us," right? And he kind of says, "Hey, I'm a little tired. We'll see. Maybe I'll come over a little later." And so you'd think most big soup, this guy, he actually shows up, goes back over with them and meets with them, takes pictures with them for the whole time, and just made their wedding just an unbelievable event before he had to get on a long flight. And I thought that was pretty cool. Like, I think we need more people like that in this world.
Ding, ding.
Right?
Yeah.
And
I did say cool.
Oh, you did say cool. I was like, we were so
Cheers,
engaged.
twice, we got two. So, and then the funny part about that story, they take all these pictures, and the bride changes her Twitter profile to one of her and Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
and basically
that's
said,
good.
I think my husband won't mind for a few days. So Keanu Reeves. I mean,
I know
we
I
all
just
should.
got married.
Yes,
but.
yeah, we should all strive to be more
That's
like
hilarious.
that.
Yeah. That's good.
I was wondering how you're going to get through a Keanu Reeves toast without the C word.
It's very hard.
The C word?
Yes.
Couldn't happen.
It is very hard.
The C word for our show.
Yeah, for the next hour, 35,
that
40
came
minutes.
out
Yeah,
wrong.
that came out wrong. That's all right.
I was like, what's C word? What is it again?
And how about roasts? Anybody got something to roast?
I got a couple of roasts too. I guess I can pile on with this. So first one, I'm just going to roast one out for all of us in San Diego, because apparently the heat wave of all heat waves is coming this weekend.
It's supposed to be over 100,
yeah,
right?
so buckle down. For us in San Diego, we're very soft when it comes to weather. We always joke, if anybody's listening from anywhere else in the country, we're complaining. It's actually going to hit about 100 degrees. So that's definitely roasting. And then the other one is just a follow up to our football preview issue. We kind of toasted San Diego State and their former punter who was selected by the Bills, but since then we've come to find out he's a pretty terrible human being. So I want to just take all that back that we said in that one, do over, and he's terrible. I'm roasting that guy. We don't need to go into details on it, but what a horrible person. So those are my roasts.
I'm about to look
He
that
got
up
let
later.
go, right?
He did get let go, which actually it's good. He should have been let go.
Yeah. Toast to that.
We would
And then
toast that.
we'll roast
roast him. But we had to
and
step
toast
it back, because we were we were super excited
pretty
about San Diego
excited.
State, because the their new stadium's open up. Ale Smith creates their beer with San Diego State, and then this guy looks like he's going to be the a superstar with Buffalo, and then reality hit. Actually, I guess reality's been going on, but it finally broke in the news, and so
Good, it needed to.
It did.
Yeah.
So there you go, roasting him.
Okay, all right. Any other roasts?
Well, I have one, I guess.
Yeah, very good. No,
You seem very uncomfortable
confident.
roasting.
Well,
It's okay.
I was doing research, and because I learned that it didn't have to, the roast isn't always related to beer or sort of thing. So I read an article about a man who tried to capture and steal cubs at a Ghana zoo.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. He went into the enclosure, and the mother ended up mauling him to death.
That's karma.
Which is of course. But he was trying to. I guess
That's
this is
terrible.
a very rare, like white lions, the cubs that he was
where was
trying
this?
to in Ghana.
Oh.
And so they were just saying how, I just thought that was a really terrible thing for somebody to try to do for a very endangered species. So
was he from Ghana?
I believe so.
Oh, so he tried to take one home.
Yeah.
You just tried to go and get some cubs, take them out.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was
Don't
just
do that.
Middle Eastern thing to do.
Don't do
it
that.
was just like, what? How do you ever think that you can
Chicago afternoon thing to do? Let's be honest.
jump into a cage and steal some cubs? Of course.
I'm surprised I missed that because as our listeners, I'm usually really big on the animal news.
It's a good job, Paige.
Yes,
thank
that's
you.
fantastic.
Well,
you found a little
I felt
hidden
a lot
nugget.
of
That was
pressure.
good. That was very good.
I felt a lot of pressure.
And no one's blaming Mama on this one.
No.
No, they were like, she was defending her cubs.
That
And
would ruin the whole thing if they put Mom down. No.
Right.
You're
not
asking
at
for
all.
it.
It was that man should have never gone into the enclosure. Like that, he's not supposed to be there.
That's true.
Like that's why he get mauled.
Yeah, some people's brains. I just always wonder.
I don't know if he thought he could.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't
Defend
think that one
himself
out.
about a lion.
Not at all.
Didn't think that one out all the way, man.
Roasted.
Yes, roasted is
We
right.
had that here in San Diego. Someone just walked their daughter out to the elephants
That's
to take
true.
their picture. That was just
Oh
last
really?
summer.
I don't remember that one.
So there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
do stuff that needs to be
Obviously.
roasted. That takes us to pour them out. I got a pour,
Go ahead.
but this is a rough one.
Well,
Oh.
I didn't even know if it was appropriate for,
Well, go ahead. Let's hear
for
it.
this mashup collab episode. But we're pouring one out for, well, not God, but trusting in God too much. You trust in God too much. Texas School Board rejected a proposal to hang in God We Trust signs in the classrooms. Now,
what?
No, because they already had signs that say "In God We Trust" that had been donated a week before by a private group, and they ordered them posted in all the classrooms. But they brought in new signs, some written in Arabic and some with the backdrop of gay pride colors. And the school board said, "No, we can't hang any more In God We Trust signs because we have a quota, and we've already met the quota.
Wow.
Yes.
You can't trust.
That makes sense.
One, we don't even know if God can read Arabic.
Yes.
But two,
What?
I'm being sarcastic. In case your listeners don't know.
But it is Texas, so it does play a little
Yeah.
bit.
like,
But
wait
you
a
can have
minute.
too much trust in God if you're in school in Texas.
Yes. So that's too bad.
It's one of those Texas things.
Yes.
It's very Texas.
Yeah.
Some Texas.
Yeah.
On the other hand, our 90-degree heat wave means nothing to them.
No, that's
No.
that's
Absolutely
a
not.
balmy winter day for
No,
them.
they're actually going to listen to this and say, what are they complaining
Yeah,
about?
what's your humidity level?
Yeah, family
It's a dry heat, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the difference. There's like, so.
Yeah.
had family visit from Texas, and we had an outdoor barbecue, and we all sat outside, and we kind of complained. It was about 83 degrees, and they
Yeah.
said, this is the first time we've sat outside in a year and a half. It's either been cold and raining, or it's been 100 degrees.
Whoa.
Do you have a pour?
I do have a pour.
Okay.
I'm pouring one out for America.
Oh, geez.
okay.
Wow.
God in
Serious?
America.
God in America.
Here, I don't know if you guys saw this, but after more than over 2 decades living in LA, Ozzy Osbourne is returning to the UK.
Yes.
Yeah, because he
Saw
says
that.
basically U.S. is too violent for him.
Yes.
So I want you guys to think about that for a second. This is a guy
The
who was
bat eater?
This is a guy who was once referred to as the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
Right.
Who basically once grabbed
Too
a live
scary.
bat on stage and bit off its head.
Yeah.
I was doing that, and they said back in the 80s, actually, there was a period that sociologists refer to now as the Satanic Panic. And they basically say he's the figurehead. He was the devil himself, the figurehead of this. He's saying that America is too crazy for him.
Yeah.
So we're in trouble.
Yeah. I saw that, and I thought that was a wild concept.
Yeah.
I said, it's too dangerous for you out of all people.
Well, maybe
Like
it's just
you.
because he's older now.
It could be. Maybe he's got some
For sure.
perspectives.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's not too. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up with how many people we're losing
That's
to
true.
other countries, but a lot of people are moving to other countries because how bad
Oh,
that the
I'm
U.S.
looking
is.
up Ireland right now.
Yeah.
If nothing else, for the football games.
Yeah, like I've
But
been
I just
seeing.
thought that doesn't say a whole lot for us when the Prince of Darkness is saying, I'm out of here.
when he's like,
scary.
oh, I'm done.
It's too scary and I'm out of here.
Yeah. So yeah, like things like that. I've been kind of keeping up with those and just watching like people just really leave the country and just living in these other countries, and then they they show that like their journeys of how they left, wherever they're from, and then they move to like another country and show like the difference and like all of that. And I've been really intrigued, and I was like, okay, I might need to put my down payment on the Spain house.
Spain house.
I was gonna do that as retirement, but look like retirement gonna come pretty early.
Might be
Yeah,
earlier.
if we keep up. Yeah.
Do we have any more pours?
I have one too.
Oh, good. All right.
I can prepare.
I like it.
We're getting your roast, so.
I was going to pour one out for lawns in Southern California.
That's very true.
Yeah, mine can go.
Because with the heat wave and the drought and the water restrictions, I think lawns are on their way to
out.
a a slow death.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not slow. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
But lawns are on their way out.
Yeah.
So
in Mississippi as well. I don't know if you found there's no water in Mississippi right now.
Yep,
It's actually very sad.
Yeah.
They and if you go over, it's kind of crazy because they've put in I don't know how many millions and millions of dollars into their water, supply and all that kind of stuff, and it's just not working. So
really
lawns
sad.
can be gone everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of waste for just a beautification when there's a lot of other creative ways to beautify your yard without using water like
Grow
that.
hops, people, if you're going to use
Yeah,
that.
But hops use a lot of water too. I can speak. From
I watered
experience.
your hops in
You
the
did,
summer,
and they
so I
left their
am
water.
aware.
But the only good part about them is
Get messages. Have you watered the hops today? I'm on my way.
Yeah.
You're like, how are you?
Yeah. But once you harvest them, there's no more water now. So there's no water going to them anymore. So it's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Toast, Roast, and Pour One Out. Your turn for a segment.
Drinking stories. So every episode, we ask our guests to tell us a drinking story, and it can be something, something memorable, inspirational, just funny, any type of story that's just, relatable in some sort of way that you'd like to share with us and the listeners. So, I was going to start today, so I can give you an example.
Okay.
Good.
Good modeling.
I appreciate that.
Good teaching.
So going back to working with the Guild, I was in the job for less than a year when I went to the Craft Brewers Conference in 2014. It was in Denver, Colorado, and I get altitude sickness.
Oh, no.
Which I really learned when I was there. So I just nausea and just couldn't really drink. So everyone's going to breweries and doing these tours and things like that. And it's you gotta go, and I'd try stuff, and I was very excited to be there, but I really couldn't enjoy anything. And so it was the last night, and it was also World Beer Cup year. So we actually were hanging out with the guys from AleSmith, and they won a gold medal that year, and they were being hosted by Crohn's, which is a manufacturer for brewing equipment. And because they hadn't built their new location yet, so they were kind of being hosted and wined and dined, beard and wined, I guess. Right. I don't know. Beard and dined. So anyway, so I was like, sense. I'm going to tag along with these guys. So that night, because they were very celebratory over the gold medal, we ended up at this dive bar called Star Bar. And I ended up and I hadn't really been drinking because I had been so sick. So I'm just it's the last night. We're all leaving tomorrow. I can have a couple cocktails. We'll see how it goes. And I ended up doing karaoke with one of the German reps from Crohn's, and we did I Got You, Babe.
Nice.
And so shout out.
Made a friend for life.
Yeah. So, it was super fun. We were hanging out with Paul Segura from Carl Strauss and Ryan Chris from AleSmith and some other friends that we have, and it was really fun. So they always like to bring up that story of Paige in karaoke.
Also, 2 more San Diego State Aztecs.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. And his wife, who's also Ryan's wife, Melody, she worked at Carl Strauss at the time. So it was a lot of...
That's a great
all
story.
All of us
That
Aztec kids.
And also a cautionary tale, because I also get altitude sickness, so I'll know to get there 3 or 4 days early.
Yeah, it was the 4th day, and I was like, I'm okay. I can have a drink.
This is good to know.
It is good to know.
I was but I can't go out for a week.
That's true.
San Diego beer lovers, come join us on the Pioneer Beer Trail, a free, narrated tour of 4 of Vista's iconic craft brewers, all from the convenience of your phone. Simply download the free show at vistamadetours.com or find Vista Made Tours on your favorite podcast provider, like Spotify or iTunes. Then fire up the show and you'll hear fascinating backstories, beer favorites, and food recommendations from the brewers themselves as you travel from spot to spot. It's free, fun, and the easiest way to learn about some of Vista's originals, including Booze Brothers, Belching Beaver 980, Aztec, and 5 Suits. So come travel the Pioneer Beer Trail at vistamadetours.com or from wherever you find your podcasts.
We want to invite you to listen to the Same Business Different Day podcast, where we sit down with business owners, entrepreneurs, and great minds to talk about their stories and how they got to be as successful as they are today. If you're a business owner, this is the show for you. You get the tips and tricks from people just like yourself. If you're an aspiring entrepreneur, this is the show for you. You get to hear from some of the best storytellers about their journeys. If you're an avid podcast listener, this is the show for you. We release every Tuesday morning on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to Same Business Different Day. We make this show just for you.
Hello friends, this is Joe Samo from the Samo Law Group. I am the host of Run It By My Lawyer. Over the years, I've had so many people that have had legal issues and legal questions and legal concerns, and I always, over the more than 20 years, I've been telling people, before you sign anything, before you do anything, if you have a problem, just run it by my lawyer, right? Just run it by me. And now I have a podcast doing just that. You can call me, you can email me, any questions you have. I love hearing from people and answering legal questions. And on our podcast, we've talked about everything from free speech, gun rights, anything you want to discuss, employment rights, everything. So you have an issue, run it by my lawyer and watch this podcast. You'll be entertained and you'll learn the law.
Well, you get to pick next. Who's next?
Let's do Jeff.
I don't know how I follow that one. Actually, you kind of mentioned I need to have a drinking story. So I kind of was thinking about that type of thing because I also have one where it's the last time I ever drank Jägermeister, never drink it again, but I ended up in front of a bar singing La Bamba. Oh, so I've had that experience
I like
too.
it.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. And but I'm like, maybe that's not the kind of story we're looking for. I would think back to when we first had the idea of having a podcast. We hadn't even done a podcast, and we go down to Miramar to go introduce ourselves. And our whole goal, honestly, in this was we just wanted to sit around and tell our stories, but we want to get free beer. That was, to be honest. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
There's always motivation.
Yeah, that's a great motivation. Like that, if we hit that, we figured that was it. Nirvana, success. We've accomplished
You have
everything.
to start with vision.
Yeah. And so I remember we walk into, I think it was like our third brewery of the day. It was Duckfoot. And remember we walk up there and we say, hey, we're from this podcast. I Like Beer, the podcast. And the guys, I can't remember who it was behind the bar, but he's asking us, like, well, what are you using for this? And we know nothing. We're like, oh, our sound guy handles that. Or our producer handles that.
Gosh, that's a
or all
good
this kind of
response.
stuff. Oh yeah. We're like, oh no, we're
too
just
big for that.
Yeah, we're just this. And we don't, we're not sure and all that kind of
We are
stuff.
just the talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, so what was funny about it is so he, at the end, we're like, oh, okay, we'll settle up. He told us up. He goes, I'll give you guys the industry discount. And we're like, what? And we like, we're like, we made it. We got the industry discount.
We saved 15%.
Yes. And that was like without even doing one. And I think it was like the next, we actually did for something. We went down to Viewpoint. And we meeting with Mo there, who's the head brewer there, and we sit down with him, and he proceeds to give us so much free beer. In fact, gave us bottles of some of his reserve stuff on the way out. Like we should have quit after that one because like at that point you're like, there's nowhere else to go but up. But it was really funny. Like those are like mission accomplished in like week 4, and then it's like, where do you go from there? So those
you can't stop.
No,
because
and
the free beer stuff.
Right. Well, and the cool part about it is in the interim now, obviously we're 3 years into doing this, is just that thing. All the people that we've met, that they're really, like relationships that we have. Like we were at Beer X a couple of weeks ago, and you run into Clayton, and he's taking us around introducing to and just super nice people, super fun people. So it's been a really cool venue and avenue to that, to just to sing different things and meeting people that were outside of our realm of what we knew prior to that, just as high school teachers. Yeah. So it's been really fun. But that was it. Hitting that goal of getting that industry discount on the first day. 15% was
We were really something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife was taxing us around. She was our designated driver, so we were sitting in the back seat. She was in the front.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah. So you really looked the part.
Yeah, we tried. We might even have had already. I don't even know if we had a hat yet. We might have already had a hat. Like we already had some stuff. Like we're big time.
I think we just wrote it on a T-shirt.
Yeah. We're big time. So, but it was just funny. I just remember that guy asking us all those questions. We're like, And I'm looking at him and we're like, yeah, we don't do that. Our producer does that. Our sound guy does that. They handle all that.
But they were asking, so like,
we just know
what
nothing.
platform can I find your podcast?
Yes.
Well, our producer does it.
Yeah.
Is it on Spotify? You'd have to ask our producer.
Yeah, we're not sure. It was really funny.
We're just speaking a microphone.
In hindsight, it was funny. It was great. I mean, it's a really funny story to start off with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that.
Who's up?
It's you.
Oh, so wow, drinking story.
Can I just say, your drinking story on your first episode, if people, our listeners, if you haven't listened to the Odd Pairing podcast, just for Natasha's drinking story on the first episode when you were in the Navy, 19 years old. Yeah, go listen to that.
Yeah.
That was a great story and well told. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. I have another Navy one because all of my great drinking stories happen in the military. So we used to do and this is when I first got introduced to Chardonnay. Okay. This is when I thought I was like super fancy because I was drinking Chardonnay. And so we, as the crew of the ship, we would host these things called big tops. And what the big top is basically you just have all these diplomats that come on board and they meet the captain and they meet all the head people and they're just kind of just talking and, just BSing around with each other. And we would work it as the lower ranking crew. You'll be assigned, if it was your duty day, it'd be your duty. One of your duties would be to work the big top. So you wanted to work the big top.
That wasn't the word of the day, though.
Right.
So we're good.
You said the word of the day twice during your story, and I wasn't sure if I'm supposed to call it out.
You are supposed to call it out.
Or if you're supposed to call it out.
No.
So now we have to drink
That means we
twice.
have to drink twice now.
That's one.
It's good. I'm on my second beer, so.
So we're up there and we're working this thing, and and the way that we're dressed, you have on your white shirt that goes under your dress blues, which is for anyone who's never been in the military. It's basically that black looking uniform that they all look all spiffy in. Mm-hmm. That's that. We call it the dress blues. It's nowhere near blue. It's black. We call it the dress blues. So
Thinking about Top Gun for a second. I'm just trying to figure out what uniform that was. I got it now. Okay.
So we have the white top on, and then you have your black pants from your dress blues on, and you're just walking around and you're just serving. That's all you're doing, right? So what we would do is the naughtiness in us. One of our friends that was part of the cooking crew, he knew where the wine was, and he would say, "Hey, when you take a break, just come take a few sips, and then go back to work."
And are you a sipper?
Oh, we were gulpers. We weren't sippers. No. We were like chuggers. So we would go back to the back, and if you're on a break and you got other people that are out there serving. So we're doing this for 2 hours where we go and we take sips, quote unquote, and then you go and then you go back and you try to serve. So by this time,
Try to serve.
try to serve. So people are leaving, going out. At this point, we're no longer holding trays. The tray is by our side. And because at the end, you're supposed to collect everyone's glasses that's coming out. We're holding them at this point. We're just give me your glass. Yeah, just give me your glass. Everyone at this point is trying to hold their drunkenness together because we're toasted at this point because we've had all this Chardonnay and then no food. So we're just drinking and not eating at the same time. So we're at the end, we're oh God, I don't know how we're going to make it. And so my friend, he comes out and he's like, "Yo, we've drinking 8 bottles." And I'm like, "What? Wait, what?" So that's, if you think about the servers, it's 8 of us.
Yeah.
That means a
so
bottle
you had a bottle of
a piece.
Nice.
A piece, okay? So at the end of this thing, we're toasted. The captain, thank God the captain was toasted too. So by the time he came to us, he didn't realize we were drunk because he was so drunk.
That's funny.
So he was just like, "Oh, thank you guys so much. You guys have done a great job." And we was like, "Sure we did, sir. Sure we did. You did a great job too. I saw you out there diplomating. Yeah, I saw you out there doing it. Yeah." You was doing it, sir. And so, yeah, I remember, I'll never forget that because then after that, I wanted to work those because I knew I could get free food and to drink for free.
So they did feed you eventually.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because you had a little break, So, but that was the time you had a full glass. Yeah, that was the time you had a full glass instead of just a little chug of your
Side
Chardonnay.
Bottle. Yeah.
Yeah. I never forget
love
that.
that.
I
That's
loved
funny.
it. It was
That's
so
the
much
place
fun.
to play it cool. I couldn't. I'm working. I couldn't possibly.
While you're in the back, like getting toasted. Yeah. Oh, for sure. So what about you, the other Jeff?
Our whole podcast started on beer drinking stories. We were camping at the beach, my wife and I, and Jeff and his wife came and visited, and he brought some beers and I had some beers, and we were telling stories around beers, and that didn't become the podcast yet, but we came up with a plan to, let's rent a van and let's go up to Chico, to Sierra Nevada, and let's go over to Russian River, and then let's find the smallest breweries, the craziest little breweries we can, and work our way down and fill the van, and we'll have beer for the summer. And that was our very first trip. Eventually that spawned into our podcast. But on that trip, one of the little tiny nano breweries we found, and that particular day to me is always just it had terror in it, it had pain and suffering in it, it had humor in it, it had learning in it. It just was such a great day. we went to a place called 3 Mile.
That's true, yeah.
3 Mile Brewing, which is the best nano brewery on planet Earth.
It is.
It's like 6 or 7 biotech engineers that all found out that they brew in their garages, and then their wives wanted the garages back, so said, go open a brewery. And they are perfectionists.
And their brewing facility is about the size of this
our studio.
Like where they actually produce
Is it like
from.
a
It's
one-barrel
crazy.
system
It's
or
very
something?
small, yeah.
And their beers are so
good.
dialed in, so amazing. And it was their day off, but one of the engineers said, "Hey, I'll come in and I'll meet you," because we sent out a thing like we can tell we BS a little bit.
We're from the San Diego community. We're coming up to your area as
We're-
beer
Oh
my
experts. And these
gosh.
beer like, oh yeah, we'll meet
Using
with
the
you.
reputation of
Craft
San
beer
Diego.
enthusiasts. We're a tour group,
Yeah,
and
we're
we
tour
picked your brewery, and you made T-shirts and lanyards.
They're classic, so we walk in on us. Oh yeah. No, it was awesome. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we walk in. There were 12 of us. There were 12 of us on this trip.
Yeah.
How many?
Ended up being 12 of us. So the 12 of us
Yeah.
walk in the T-shirts and the lanyards.
Wait, so what did the T-shirt and lanyard say?
So the front of the T-shirt was, so we called ourselves, because basically all of us were at the point where our kids were in college. So
Okay.
we were taking back our spring break. So we were now PGW, which was Parents Gone Wild. So that was so the front of it said PGW, Parents Gone Wild. I can't remember the exact one on the first shirt. And it had this picture of a van. And then we have little logos on there, like, whatever it was. It was like a little beer and this and this and this. So that was, and then the back, what it would have is that I did the itinerary of where we were going to be each day.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it was a concert T-shirt.
Yeah, so it was a concert. It was like a concert thing. And so it would be on this date, we're hitting these breweries and these places. And so you walk into a place and go, look, you're on our shirt. And they're like, oh, here you go,
Yeah.
And so we did that. So we've now done 5 of those trips in different areas of the country and even up to Canada.
Wow.
I'm hijacking your story, but I'll
No,
let you get back to it. But yeah, that's
this
it.
is important
But yeah,
background
we've done
information.
that for each one of them, where we have a shirt or sweatshirts and then different little things that go along with it. And
That's awesome, though.
It's been pretty fun.
so creative.
Yeah.
So we go to 3 Mile, and Joe Runner, who's one of the brewers there, meets us there on his day off, and we asked, "Look, can we sample some of your beers?" And he gives a great, and we don't know much.
Yeah.
We think we know something, but we learned on that trip we don't know much. And he explains, I'm really opposed to taster glasses.
Right.
And there's a whole lot going on in a well-made beer that you need a pint of it for. It's going to change. It's going to warm up. There's complexities there. A couple sips don't do it. And by this time, we've had tasters everywhere. So we're like, oh, we're doing it wrong. Yeah. I think you need to drink our beers by the pint.
Yeah,
and he even
pints.
explained how he tried to make sure they didn't have taster glasses, but he lost that battle. Yeah. Okay, this guy really knows something. So we tried 3 or 4 of his beers by the pint, but he only had an hour. So this isn't an hour. So I can drink 3 or 4 beers. I'm not a skinny guy. But that window, that's a short window.
Very short.
But he's doing a great job of teaching us, walking us through each beer. And I really felt like wow, okay, we know something. And we had another appointment. We ran over to Sudverk's right afterwards. Yeah. So we get there and he gets out some taster glasses and we say, well, actually, we were just talking to Joe over at 3 Mile. And we don't do taster glasses. Yeah. If your beers have the complexity and nuances that we hope they do, we really need to taste it by the pint. So we have 2 or 3 pints there. Might have been more. I don't know at that point.
Good God.
And we're getting a great lesson, a great tour, and met fantastic people. Got to hear some history, some person stories about why their beers are named this, why their breweries named this, how they got all the kind of stuff we were excited to hear. Yeah. And as we're hearing this, I see an old-timey pinwheel bike. And I
It's
decide
like with the big front tire.
with the giant front tire,
Like the 1900s, early 1900s.
and decide that bike must be ridden by me.
Yeah.
Oh.
That bike's sitting there all alone and needs to be ridden by me.
This is excellent.
So I take it out into the.
we have pictures of the
actually,
bike.
Thank goodness. And I don't think there are.
might be. Well,
There
There's
has
a picture
to
of the
be.
bike, and it still terrifies me.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's a picture of me on the bike, and I wasn't on it very long.
Yeah.
I got on it just long enough to build up some speed and realize that I don't know how to brake on a pinwheel bike. I don't know how to turn on a pinwheel bike. The parking lot is running out of room, and I'm in no condition to figure this out on the run.
Right.
And over I went, just leg torn to shreds on the
Oh my
asphalt.
God.
I was trying to see if I had
Laying
the
with
Sidworks
all
one,
tangled
'cause
up in the bike.
It's in their logo. It's in Sidworks logo. Yeah. The bike is.
Yeah, it has a bear. I did kind of look like the bear in the
there's a
circus
bear
riding a
on the
little
bike
pinwheel
and
bike.
Sidworks
I
group.
love that.
So I had to limp on back, a big old mess, and take the bike back. And when I had asked to ride the bike, I said, "Can we ride the bike?" The gentleman that
It was the grandfather of like the guy, or the grandson of the guy who
he's
actually
looking at me
started it.
like, "No, you can't." But he didn't say no. And he didn't say no means yes. So
Yeah.
off I went on the bike, and it was
He
a great big
probably
disaster.
Like any sane person would not get on that.
Would not.
So I don't really need to say no.
Apparently
And we
they
spent
don't
the
have-
rest
they
of
don't
the
have
week-
bike on there anymore. They used to have it as their main logo. So
Yeah, and it put a big scratch on the bike too, which made me feel really bad. And I spent the rest of the week with my leg all bandaged up, but it was a lesson learned.
we also learned we weren't 21 on that trip too.
Yeah.
I remember the first night. So the first night we pull into Sacramento, and we were super excited, and we go to I don't even know how many breweries, like 5 or 6 breweries, and like we're hitting just taster flights, beers, all these breweries, and we were all staying in an Airbnb. We would rent these big Airbnbs that all the couples could stay at, and wake up the next morning, and everybody's getting ready, and we're all the guys are sitting down in the living room, and we're all just kind of sitting there, and you can just tell. And then finally, I don't know which one of us did it. Looks at you and goes, "We can't do that again." And it was like,
We can't do this every night.
Thank God. I thought I was the only one that was feeling that way, and so we learned we got to pace ourselves a little more on this.
We did learn pacing, and then
Yeah.
Joe Runner at 3 Mile threw us off.
Yeah, but
because
it was just funny
because he talked it up so well.
Yeah.
By the pint. Here are the reasons why. So there you go. Well, that
I
suffice?
love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those were great. Well, there's like multiple stories there. That's fantastic.
I mean, and of course, you guys had to realize that you weren't 21 anymore.
Yes.
You literally had shirts that said parents.
Yes.
Going
yes,
wild.
Yeah.
Our children were
Well, they
closer,
did-
far
they did
closer
go
to
wild.
21.
Yes.
They did go wild.
Yeah.
So they accomplished their goal.
Yeah. So.
Like something to just say, all right, maybe we should pace ourselves, slow down just a bit. Yeah.
So now we're on.
Is But it was
a
we did
great time.
Yeah, PGW 5.0 is this year.
I was gonna say, is
Oh,
it
wow, so
called
you guys-
Parents Gone Wild every year?
Yeah,
or
so
every
we did.
trip?
So we did that the first year. Then PGW 2.0, we did the Pacific Northwest. So we basically flew up into like the Seattle area, and we did like Seattle, Portland, Bend, that whole
fun.
area.
Yeah.
And then the year 3, which is where the podcast came out of, right? We actually just went to Mexico that year. We rented a house in Mexico, and that's where we were sitting around talking about how funny we were. And we're like, everyone would love to hear this. We should start a podcast.
Yeah.
We need to start recording ourselves.
Well, when we talked about it, we came up with like 25
Yeah.
different episode themes or shows we could
cool.
do. And Joe, who's our producer who works in this office, this studio, he the next day, kind of on the side, said, I run a social media company. This is what we do. If you're serious, we can look into this.
Yes.
And we're peas in a pod. If we decide we're doing something, it has to be done. I will come up with a bunch of ideas, but he actually makes them happen the next day, which is kind of how the whole thing started when we talked about it at the beach. And the next day he said, I've rented a van. So poor Joe didn't know what he was getting into. What did he say to his wife, Kim, on the way home? She said, do you think they'll actually do it? And he goes, chances are slim to none.
Yeah, slim to none.
They'll actually get themselves.
Except
And the next day we're like,
100%. Chances are 100%.
I think I called him. I said, I've listened to 12 different beer
Yeah,
podcasts,
exactly,
and they
on the way
all
home.
talk about all kinds of stuff, but what they don't do is tell stories.
Yeah,
And
You're
we're
like, so this is how we can
beer's
be
about
different.
storytelling.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And we
it's
heard
been fun.
you found a beer you liked.
Yes, I did.
What was it?
It was Pizza Port's.
No, it wasn't Pizza.
It wasn't Pizza Port?
No, it was Owl
However,
Farm.
you found the Pizza Port beers delicious,
It was
I'm
the
sure.
Owl Farm tahine, mango tahine.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Because
Owl
Pizza
Farm.
Port
You had
did
the
it on the
Corona.
episode.
Yes,
Yeah.
so Jill helped us.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what it
Or
was.
help.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it was, splendid. Wonderful. I think I had it again somewhere else. I think it was at Ironside.
So that's a good sign. If you said it's good on the podcast with the guest there, that's one thing. But if you went out of your way and ordered it, that means something.
Yeah, I saw it on there. I was like, oh, let me get this one.
I have not.
I don't think I have.
You haven't had the Owl Farm one?
Yeah, Owl Farm's on our list to visit. So here we come, Owl Farm.
Yeah.
Coming at you.
We want to hear your story.
That's right.
Yeah.
I do. And there's a great story. I'm just guessing here, but Owl Farm has to be a reference to Hunter S. Thompson.
Yes.
It is. Okay. It just has to be. But it is for sure. Okay. Well, now I got to go now.
Yeah.
We like to end our show with a little trivia game. Are you guys in?
Yes.
All right.
I want to win this time.
Paige has played before.
I want to win once, so I don't know if I've ever. I think I've won once or twice, but it's been a long time.
Only once or twice in 3 years?
I was really good early, like the first 3 or 4 times, but after that,
And then he got really good.
Yeah, I guess he got better, and I just.
Well, usually our co-host, the doctor, does these, and he's removed all his tells. He's like a professional poker player now. For you could kind of read him early on.
Yeah, I think that's why I got it.
Yeah. Well, then it's time for beer or not a beer. Cue the music. I like to say cue the music instead of the music.
It's way professional.
There's no dancing this way, though.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Beer or not a beer. Each of these beers is connected to the idea of an odd pairing.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted odd beers, so I looked into some odd breweries. I found a few. I found Oddball, Odd Bird, Odd Story, Odd Muse, Odd Otter, which we went to on a PGW trip.
Yeah, they make a great beer.
That watermelon one.
Yeah, the watermelon beer is phenomenal.
Odd Logic. I chose Odd Side Brewing for beer or not a beer this week, mostly because their beer names are awesome. So I'm going to give you a little sampling of actual Odd Side beer names before I give you the contest.
Okay.
So these are real
This means it's going to be
Odd
hard.
Side beer
It's
names.
gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Kind of goes to your pour one out here. Irish Drought, a dry stout.
That's a good one.
That's good.
Groundskeeper Willie Scottish Ale.
So they're into puns.
Yes. Imponderous Scotch Ale. Misalignment. That's a pomegranate wheat ale. Like Little Misalignment. It's Hoplicated, double IPA, lots of hops in there.
That's a good one.
But my favorite beer name of theirs, I didn't put on the list, but I just love this one. Lager Finds a Way. like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. This is Lager Finds a Way.
Yeah.
And is in the name of the beer.
That's
Where
hilarious.
are they located?
They are in Michigan.
Michigan. Okay.
You know where? No, I don't either.
Somewhere
in Michigan.
When you look at
And
the hand and it's like on one part of the, I don't know, when you go to people from Michigan, they go, oh, I'm in the hand. I'm like, where the thumb is. I don't understand that. But
Somewhere in Michigan.
Meet someone from Michigan and they'll tell you.
like one city, Ann Arbor.
Well,
right?
here's how this works out there in listener land. I will name 4 beers. 3 really are beers made by Odd Side Brewing in Michigan, somewhere. 1 is not. Can you find the odd beer out? Here we go.
Okay.
Right? Beer number 1, Dad Bod Stout. Beer number 2, The Nightman Leaveth, Imperial Milk Stout. Beer number 3, Check Yourself, a Pils. And beer number 4, El Dankarino, a double IPA. So it's beer number 1 is Dad Bod Stout. Beer number 2 is The Nightman Leaveth, Imperial Milk Stout. Beer number 3, Check Yourself, Pils. And beer number 4, El Dankarino, double IPA.
Wait, what was the Nightman Leaveth? What type of beer was it?
It was an Imperial Milk Stout. Thank you for giving me a chance to say it right once.
That's good. I'm just checking because.
So, here we go. Natasha, which beer is not a beer?
I think the Check Yourself.
Check Yourself Pils, beer number 3. Thank you. Paige.
Number 4, El Dankarino.
El Dankarino, you're saying is not a double IPA by Odd Side Brewing. And Jeff.
I'm going to go with Nightman Leaveth.
The Nightman Leaveth. Well, out there in listener land, did any of you choose Dad Bod Stout? Because Dad Bod Stout is not a beer anywhere. I looked everywhere for it.
That's a great one.
Because I thought of that one first. I was like, no, that.
I was like, they've got to to do that
That's
one.
a great one for a stout. Like a stout being called Dad Bod is a perfect name. That's why I was trying to go with what the beer is. Like Check Yourself, like a Czech was spelled correctly. Pilsner's is a great name.
That's a great name.
Dan Carino for a triple or a double or whatever.
But isn't Nightman a reference to Sunny?
But it was the only one that didn't go to me with the type of beer it was. I told you I overthink these things. And, so
I was just like, El Dan Carino, like they're in Michigan.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Well, listeners, did you choose Dad Bod Stout? If you did, good for you. Or better luck next time. Thanks for playing. We'll see you next time on Beer or Not a Beer. Too good? All right. Well, cheers.
Yes.
What a good time.
We have to do our outros.
Our outros. That's right. I got it written down. I'm a teacher. I got my lesson plan right here.
We didn't say the word as much as we thought.
Well, yeah, I think we all got put on. We're competitive.
I said it 4 times, so I was the loser in that game.
We all seem to find a way to finish our drinks, though.
I'm almost at the bottom of my second beer, so we're okay.
Yeah.
That's a good
I'm halfway through my second one, so we found a way. You know why? Because we believed in ourselves.
We sure did.
And we didn't give up.
We sure did.
And that's really the key, isn't it, kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Odd Pairing Podcast, Natasha and Paige.
Yeah.
You want to remind people when and where to find your podcast?
Yeah, so we put out episodes every other Friday, and we are on YouTube, so everyone can watch and see who we are. And now your people will get to see what you guys actually look like.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's the big reveal.
Yeah.
We are so out of our comfort zone.
So look at us.
Go on
showing
public
us.
anymore, apparently, huh? Yes, it's going to be tough.
You're going to get more free beer.
Yeah, it's true.
You're
I
school
know what you look
teachers
like.
with a beer drinking podcast. You tend to not turn the cameras on. That's okay.
Yeah.
What did you want to say? The cat's out of the bag on that one.
Yeah, I think
I've
so.
had students wearing their shirts in class. So I've had a couple. They'll show up and they sit in the back in the sweatshirt because they think it's funny, and I just ignore it.
I think
know?
that's not against school
they
code.
just like find out?
Well, they found out because kids talk, and then social media, whatever. It's I think the social media one,
Kids
they'll find out.
these days.
I know. And then they'll come up to me and they'll go, "Do you have a beer podcast?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then they're like, "Oh, that means yes." And then all they have to do is search, and then it's
You're like, "Well, I want to be easily found."
Yeah. And then last year when we started doing the merchandise, I had one day where a kid walks in and he sits in the back and he's got the sweatshirt on, and I just ignored him the whole thing. And then it was funny, class ended, and he stayed afterwards. He goes, "Why didn't you say anything about my sweatshirt?" And I said, "Because you wanted me to say something about your sweatshirt, and I knew that." So I said, "Well, thanks for buying it." Yeah. Thanks for
the support.
Yeah, we appreciate the support wherever we can get it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can catch our podcast every Monday, wherever you get podcasts. We'd love to keep drinking, but right now, we got to run.
Thank you guys so much.
And we are Odd Pairing signing off.
Thanks for listening and watching Odd Pairing. So please subscribe, like, rate,
And comment with your favorite drinking stories and curiosities about adult beverages.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'm going to happy hour. Who's driving?
I'm going to walk.